Russian oligarchs are ultra-wealthy business figures who rose to prominence often very rapidly during the chaotic transition from the Soviet-planned economy to a market economy in the 1990s. The term Russian oligarch isn't just about wealth. It implies political influence, close ties to the state, and control over major sectors like energy, metals, banking, and media. When the dissolution of the Soviet Union happened, Russia didn't slowly transition into capitalism with stable institutions and clear laws. It was more like a nuclear empire waking up broke overnight. The Soviet state had owned almost everything: oil fields, gas pipelines, steel, factories, mines, banks, and media networks. Then suddenly, all of it was up for grabs. But ordinary Russians had no capital, no financial education, and were dealing with hyperinflation so brutal that life savings could become worthless in months. People were trying to survive, not buy industrial empires. The vacuum created the perfect feeding ground for a new predator class. In the mid-1990s, the Russian government launched the infamous Loans for Shares program. Officially, it was supposed to help the struggling government raise money. In reality, it became one of the greatest wealth transfers in modern history. Wealthy bankers and insiders loaned money to the government. In exchange, they temporarily received shares in massive state companies. The government conveniently failed to repay many of the loans. The collateral became theirs permanently. So all giants, metal empires, and energy companies worth billions were acquired for fractions of their real value. Imagine buying an entire kingdom for the price of a luxury apartment. Some auctions were allegedly rigged from the start. Competitors were blocked, rules changed mid-game, and political connections mattered more than economics. A handful of men walked into the chaos as bankers and walked out owning pieces of a superpower. Meanwhile, average citizens were selling Soviet-era medals, furniture, even family heirlooms just to eat. For a brief period in the 1990s, some oligarchs became so powerful they could influence elections, shape public opinion through media ownership, and pressure the Kremlin itself. Russia wasn't just becoming capitalist, it was becoming a battlefield where former state assets were carved up at high speed. Then Vladimir Putin arrived. His message to the oligarchs was essentially, you can keep your billions, but you don't rule above the state. The ones who resisted too openly lost everything, went into exile, or ended up in prison. The most well-known Russian oligarchs include Roman Abramovich, Oleg Deripaska, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, Vladimir Putin, Elisha Usmanov, and Alexei Mordashov. Roman Abramovich built wealth through oil and later bought Chelsea FC, becoming the global face of oligarch luxury. Oleg Deripaska rose through the violent aluminium wars of the 1990s, where industry and organized crime often overlapped. Mikhail Khodorkovsky became Russia's richest man through Yukos, then was jailed after challenging Vladimir Putin politically. Vladimir Putin secured control over strategic metals like nickel and palladium through Norilsk Nickel. Elisha Usmanov expanded through metals into telecom and tech, turning Soviet-era resource wealth into global investment. Finally, Alexei Mordashov built a steel empire through Severstal, representing Russia's commodity-driven billionaire class. After Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the oligarch era changed overnight. For decades, many Russian billionaires lived like global aristocrats. London mansions, Mediterranean yachts, private jets, and offshore wealth networks. Then the West hit them with massive sanctions. Assets were frozen, yachts seized, bank accounts restricted, and travel bans imposed. If you benefit from the Kremlin system, you'll pay a price for the war too. For Roman Abramovich, it was dramatic. The UK froze his assets and forced the sale of Chelsea FC. A man once treated like a billionaire celebrity in London suddenly became politically radioactive. Oleg Deripaska faced deeper sanctions, investigations, and accusations of sanctions evasion. Vladimir Putin, once considered too important to sanction because of global nickel supplies, was eventually targeted too. Many oligarchs started moving wealth toward places less aligned with Western sanctions, especially the UAE and offshore structures. Some yachts literally turned off tracking systems while relocating. Financially, they were hit hard. Russian billionaires collectively lost tens of billions of dollars after the invasion and sanctions shock. The question now is, will the oligarchs remain loyal to a man who lost most of their wealth?